souls, to Healing the Creatrix podcast. I'm so grateful you're here. And if you tuned into the first episode, we explored how creativity itself can be one of the deepest healing paths. How, through the creative process, we heal the parts of ourselves that longs to be seen, expressed, and loved. Today, we're diving into something that has been such a huge part of my own healing and creative journey: surrender. Learning to create from the soul and not from the ego. Because when you are a creative, especially one walking the path of healing, it's so easy to fall into the trap of forcing, controlling, or trying to make things happen. But true creative magic doesn't come from that place. It comes when we let go, when we trust, when we allow what wants to move through us. The ego is the part of us that creates to prove something, to be seen, to be validated, to get it right. It wants structure, certainty, control. But the soul, oh, she creates just to express, to breathe, to feel, to express what wants to be expressed because it cannot be caged in. It is that full heart chakra opening, and that release is so healing. She doesn't care if it's perfect. She just wants to move energy, to bring beauty, to experience herself in color, sound, texture, or movement. There was a time in my journey when I was trying so hard to make something work. I was creating from pressure, not passion, and I could feel it. The energy was tight. My creativity felt blocked. Nothing flowed. And then one day I just stopped. I breathed and I surrendered. And from that quiet space, something completely unexpected emerged, raw, real, and so me. That's when I realized the ego creates for validation, but the soul creates for liberation. And myself, I have felt conditioned to keep producing from the moment that I was born, going to school, trying to prove that I'm worthy through my grades, trying to prove my worthiness through work by being so productive and being a perfect worker, a perfect creative. And then when you start getting validation and approval and rewards, recognition, then it becomes a cycle. It was hard for me to stop producing. That's one of the things I've had to heal, including the spiritual sense, because I do have a full-time job that I love. But I created the spiritual sense to have something to express, something of my own personal brand. But when I initially started, I felt recognition, and it felt like a game, sort of, where I create something, I get likes and comments, and it felt like, ooh, I want more, I want more. But then I felt myself into the trap of trying to be like everybody else, watching the reels of others, watching the creations of others. And eventually I felt kind of lackluster and sort of creatively burned out because I didn't want to be like everybody else. I wanted my expression to come from my soul and not from what algorithm wants. And a lot of times there was lack of support from people around me, from followers, and I didn't want my creations to be dependent on that. I wanted to create and let go, create and surrender. Because at those moments when I would create from the flow and just let it go, not expecting anything to be liked, commented, or loved, it didn't matter what the outcome was. It didn't matter how people would react. What mattered is my soul was so happy, and that is how I create and I want to create. So, why does surrender feel so hard? Surrender can feel like the hardest thing in the world, especially for creatives, because surrender asks us to release control, and we're taught that control equals safety. We think if we plan enough, push enough, or are perfect enough, we'll be okay. But creativity doesn't live in control, it lives in the unknown. And the unknown is where the mystery lives, the divine feminine, the magic. When we surrender, we step into co creation with spirit. And yes, it's scary because the mind wants to know what's coming next. But the soul whispers, trust. You're safe to let go. Example of this, what has helped me a lot, is tuning into my North Node in astrology. My North Node is in Cancer, and my South Node is in Capricorn. And Capricorn South Node, I was really attached to control, to making everything planned out, structured. I just know instinctively how to make things happen. But when I was working from this place, I did not feel fulfilled. Something about this life feels like when I work so hard to be structured, to plan everything right, it burns me out. I don't feel so happy. But when I tuned into more creative, feminine, emotional self that I was hiding for so long, I also have Cancer rising. So I'm deeply connected to emotions, but a lot of times I have suppressed that part of myself, but the North Node has taught me that I'm here to become myself. I'm here to become myself because my Cancer North Node is in the first house and the second house. So it's teaching me that I'm here to become who I've always been, my soul, deeply connected to my emotions and teaching others how to be just that, how to find safety within yourself. I'm not here to find safety within control or within partnerships of other people. I'm here to feel safe and enough, fully being myself and fully being in my energy. All else is extra and cherry on top of the cake. So, moving from forcing to flow, what does surrender look like in practice? In that moment, when you stop pushing and start listening, when you soften your grip on the outcome and let curiosity lead the way, you shift from productivity to presence, from comparison to curiosity, from planning to play. Sometimes it's simple as closing your laptop, lighting a candle, breathing deeply, and asking your higher self, what wants to move through me right now? You don't have to chase inspiration, you can receive it. So for me, what has helped is taking a break from my creations. I took a break from the spiritual sense recently because I felt like I was creating not from a sense of what wants to move through me, but from a sense of just to keep the energy momentum moving. And when I create from that, I really, again, did not feel connected to that. But when I tuned into my Cancer North Node and my Pisces Midheaven, I realize I'm here to move with the flow. I'm here to create when the energy comes through and wants to move through me. The words flow so freely that I most of the time don't even need a script. The words just flow through so easily when I'm connected to my higher self, when I'm connected to the source. I don't need a plan. I just need pause. I just need to come home to myself and realize that everything has already been created. And there's this sense of that when I create, it's already done. It's just cherry on top of the cake. There's nothing that I need to prove. And it's coming from this place of deep embodiment. That's something about the first and second house, especially. I'm here to embody that emotional energy, that emotional healing. I'm not here to just talk, I'm here to live it. And only when I live it can I come here and express myself to teach others. And what has helped me get there is Kundalini Yoga. So, right now, let's take a deep breath together. Let's take a deep breath. Inhale, feeling your body open, every cell every muscle, every bone expand as you inhale and take life in. And then exhale, releasing control, releasing anything that no longer serves you, and allow your energy to soften. Feel your creative flow begin to return. And from this sense of needing to prove nothing, because you are already worthy, you already love, your joy, you are loved. What do you want to create? What wants to be created through you? What do people come to you for? And it just becomes so natural to you, you don't even realize it. That is your thing. That is something that you are going to express, and that's going to bring you joy and joy to others as well. When we surrender, we remember we're not creating alone. We are vessels of divine energy for ideas, beauty, and healing that wants to be born through us. This is the dance of co-creation. You and spirit, you and the muse, you and your higher self, weaving something into existence, weaving stories, weaving inspiration, weaving movement and embodiment. And once this creation is expressed, you evolve. Each time you become a new person and you shed the old. And this creation is so powerful and beautiful. I've experienced it times and times myself, that my creations have shifted me into elevated states of being, and then I'll become a new person where the things that I used to create, I no longer need to create. So you and your creations evolve together, and what you create, you never know what you end up creating, because we are constantly changing. Our cells are constantly changing, and we change through these movements, through these expressions. And then what we create today is going to be completely different than what we create next year and the following year. And even if we need to create anymore, maybe we decide to do something completely different, and our creations become travels, and our creations become a new business, or our creations become a service to others. This creation and this creative process changes us and who we are, and it's so powerful. So every time I do, what comes to me feels pure, and it doesn't feel forced, it feels channeled. And this is what happens when you surrender. So what if your creativity isn't something that you do, but it's something that you just allow? But how can you allow it if you constantly keep yourself busy? This is something that you have to create time for yourself. Maybe it's in the morning for 5 minutes, meditate and journal and write down what it is that you want to be creating, and not just what you have to do for others through work, family, things you got to do every single day. Set a ritual where you create something every single day, even if it's just 5 minutes. And watch your time. Watch your time scrolling, because that can really suck a lot of your time. Thank you guys so much for being here. And as we close this episode, I invite you to reflect on a few questions. Where am I still trying to control my creative process? What would it feel like to create purely from my soul with no pressure, no outcome, and no expectation? How can I practice surrender in my next creative moment? Remember, surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving over to the flow that already knows where to take you. Thank you, beautiful souls, for joining me in this sacred space. When you surrender to your creative flow, you become a vessel for divine expression, and that's where true healing begins. If this episode spoke to your soul, share it with another Creatrix who's learning to trust her own flow. And come connect with me on Instagram or TikTok, and also YouTube at The Spiritual Sense. I'd love to hear how you're practicing surrender this week. And until next time, keep creating, keep healing, and keep listening to the whispers of your soul.